to delve into the nature of emptiness. But over these last days, it's been said that several questions still remain unanswered. And one of those questions is, what is it that arises and is present when stillness and movement meet? And another question is, what is your relationship with life now? Or more accurately, what is life's relationship with you? There was a certain king who, in the company of one of his ministers, loved together with learned pundits and scholars to discuss metaphysical matters. And they spent many hours in interesting talk about the metaphysics of life. But the son of the king, the prince, was very much against this. Waste of time, he said. Hocus pocus, he said. So one day he called the minister to him and he said, "Tomorrow, if you do not give me evidence of the existence of God, then I want all of this nonsense to cease. You stop leading my father astray." So the minister was very concerned about this, because how could he prove the existence of God? So with a frown on his face, he went about his business. But then it so happened that his very loyal cook, chef, noticed the state of the minister and asked him, "What is it that's troubling you?" And the minister explained the situation. The chef said, "Oh, I can answer that question. Just tell the prince that even my cook can answer a question like that." Well, what could the minister do? He had to concede he had no way that he could answer this question himself. So the next day, the cook was brought into the presence of the prince. And the cook looked at the prince and said, "First of all, since you're asking the question, and I'm now the teacher, it's not right and proper that you should be sitting where you are and I should be sitting down here where I am." So with great reluctance, the prince gave up his throne and allowed the cook to settle himself, and he came down to sit at his feet. And the cook said to the prince, "Now tell me, can you mix black and green and get white?" And the prince shook his head and said, "No, of course not." So the cook said, "Well, how come a black cow can eat green grass and make white milk?" So, of course, the prince had no answer to this. So the cook said, "Well, it must be that only God could do something like this." And then he said, "Now look, I'm sitting up here on a throne and you're sitting down here. So surely you have to concede that it could only be God who could make a cook into a prince and a prince into a student." And of course, the prince had to concede this and allow his father to continue with his metaphysical delvings. Now also, there was an assembly of followers of a great Sufi teacher, and at one of those assemblies, a student got up and said, "Master, will you tell us what is the relationship of the teacher to the world? What does he fulfill, and what is the world to him? And the Master said, the teacher is within the world, but he is working outside of the world. The world will shun him, but the world must work for him. It can be depicted in the story of the young man who wanted to do good in the world. Now, unlike most others who want to do good because they want to have aggrandizement, or they want to get kudos, or they want to be well known or leave a posterity, this young man was truly altruistic in his desire to do good. So this means, of course, that when he did do good, it would be effective, unlike others whose motives were not pure. But one night, this young man had a dream, and in his dream he was told that it was not the right time for him to teach and do good. If he did so, people would misunderstand him, and therefore he would increase their ignorance and their greed. But in his dream, he was told that he could tell everyone that he had a secret that could be told at the right time. So when the young man awoke, of course, he told his mother and father what had been said in his dream, that he had a secret. And of course, they immediately asked him what his secret was. And when he refused to tell them, they got angry with him and they ignored him, so that when he decided to leave home and go out into the world, they made no objections at all. So the young man went out and he found himself a job with a local stall holder in a market somewhere, and he did very well for himself. But then he happened to mention to the owner of the store that he had a secret that could not be told. And when the stall holder asked him again and again to tell him what the secret was, and he refused, the stall holder kicked him out into the street. But it so happened that there was a passing merchant who had a string of camels that was going far afield, and he was taken on the employ as a travelling salesman. And he did very well at this task. But again, it happened that he mentioned that he had a secret that could not be told. And again, when the merchant beset upon him to tell him what the secret was, and he refused, the merchant sent him off from his presence. But it so happened that just at that time, the king of the realm was on his deathbed, and as tradition would have it, messengers had to be sent out into the streets, finding the one who was suitable, according to the seers who would take over the throne. So just at that moment, when the young man was kicked out of the caravan onto the streets, one of these messengers happened to be passing by, and heard the young man say, "Mine is a secret that cannot be told until the right time." And these were just the words that the messenger was told to hear. So he immediately took the young man into the presence of the dying king, who asked him, was he willing to take over the responsibility of the realm? The young man said, "Yes, because my secret is that I am not allowed to begin the work in the world until." What is the end of this sentence that the young man said to the king? My secret is that I cannot begin my work in the world until the right moment, yes.
Until I'm called.
He was already called, wasn't he? He already wanted to do good, but was told it was not the right time. What is the right time for us?
What was that?
Time that is right.
Until it's in the right position or the right opportunity.
Yes. But it goes back to our questions. What is it that happens when stillness and movement meet? And what is life's relationship with you now? You put these two questions together, and when we have the answer to them, we can complete this sentence, because it is the right time. What is it about this place we now find ourselves in? Do you say, I'm in the world, but not of the world? Can you claim stillness as the only permanency in your life? Or are you still caught in the movement, chasing this and that? Even following a desire is movement. What is this time and place? How would we end this sentence? I can only begin my work in the world when?
Now.
Now, right? Now? Yes. But we still continue to seek, understand the nature of emptiness. And all of these stories are to that end. In so doing, they do allow us to recognize where we are, what we do know, to answer those questions, who we are, and what it is that we do. So there's more stories yet. But maybe this is something on which to ponder, because it is dipping our heads into a deeper metaphysical pond. Thank you, thank you.